Hi, everyone, and welcome to the American Academy of Religion. I am Adam Erickson, and I'm here with my good friend, Jay Alberg. Hi, Jay.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Jay is here. Jay is the author of this great book, Beneath the Veil of Strange Verses, Reading Scandalous Texts. And I wanted to talk with Jay today because Jay is one of the experts in mimetic theory about scandal, and we in the United States are going through a bit of a scandalous time. Jay is from Japan, and Jay, you may have heard about our scandals these days.
I have heard something, yeah.
Donald Trump was recently elected president.
Really?
I know. Super scandalous. And I wanted to talk with Jay about it, in part because Jay is living in Japan, and he has kind of an outsider's perspective, also bring in some mimetic theory and scandal. So, Jay, how are you perceiving what's going on in the United States these days when it comes to the scandal of Donald Trump?
I find, as you say, I feel a bit of an outsider, and in some ways I think that's good. In another way, I don't want to distance myself from people's concerns about this. I too have my own concerns, but when I read a lot of the press right now, the immediate reactions at least, they seem to me to be I don't want to use exactly the word overblown, but maybe I put it this way. I think they're a little bit too moralizing, and we're not quite ready to just let him do what he's going to do, and see how that goes. I think it's good to pay attention. I think it's really important that people be concerned, but at the same time, I think a kind of immediate condemnation of every appointment that he makes. I think a feeling that anyone who voted for him is now somehow beyond the pale. I don't think that those are particularly helpful reactions.
What do you mean by moralizing?
Precisely, instead of seeing it as a strategic choice or a political choice, putting it immediately into a moral category of good or bad, evil.
Okay. Yeah. Now, talk to us a little bit about your book on scandal. And you talk a lot about having to go through the scandal. How do we go through the scandal without getting caught up in the mimetic crisis that not Donald Trump, but that Renee Girard is always warning us about?
In part, you don't,
Yeah.
right? In part, you do get caught up in it, and that really is what going through it means. Is we can't stand outside of it. Actually, that's the problem. We can't. We can try to stand outside of it and let sort of the world go by, but then you really lose because you've just let things happen and you become sort of passive. So we're saying, okay, no, we'll enter into this. Well, entering into it means opening yourself up to the scandal, and that means in a certain sense experiencing it. These feelings of I really don't like this, or I really think this is bad, and I don't want this to happen. Versus then I think working through it to where you can get to a point, depending on what the situation calls for, because it can call for anything from, I need to change my thinking, right? In other words, Trump is not as bad as I thought he was. Trump's supporters aren't as crazy as I thought they were. Trump's appointments make a certain amount of sense if you look at him in this direction and things like that. To the point where you say, I need to resist this. And then you have to choose what is the form of resistance to, the ultimate kind of Thomas More. All I can do is say no to this, and if that requires the giving of my life for something, I'm willing to go that far. But I don't think that he did that in a state of being scandalized by what the king was doing. I think he did it in a state of saying, in front of God and in front of my king, to whom I remain a loyal servant, I have to put God first. And I can do that with a certain peacefulness. I can do it without condemning the king. He never condemned the king. This is where I stand, and this is why I need to do this.
That's part of the response that we're getting is condemning the king. Right. Is condemning Donald Trump. And can you talk a little bit about the modeling that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have done for us as maybe an alternative way?
Right. I mean, one thing I'd want to say, especially to people who didn't vote for him, is I think that if you get scandalized by him, you're playing his game. Right? So right there, you're already letting him win in a way that you probably don't want to. And so I do, when I watched the concession speech by Hillary Clinton, when I watched Barack Obama's, both what he said, but also his meeting, they really did model for us what we need to do, which is to give him a chance to accept the results of the election. He will be the next president. Give him a chance to lead the country. Really hope for his success, because his failure could hurt a lot of people that we don't want to see hurt. And so we need to pray, or whatever form that takes for each person, that these things will go well. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything he does or that support him the next time he runs. But I think there is, especially in this beginning, just a space for taking a deep breath and saying, okay, that maybe there are things going on that we were not totally cognizant of. We didn't pay enough attention to. Some pain that people are feeling. A lot of the commentators have said this, right? We've got this kind of hollowed out middle class that's been in pain, and we haven't paid enough attention to them. And I think that's right and good as far as it goes. But we also, I think, need to see that that maybe people did respond in a less than perfect way to this, and that's okay. That too is okay.
So as part of how to go through the scandal is to say that's okay. When we mess up and when other people mess up, and how they talk about this. And I mean, this is one of the big issues that Thanksgiving is coming up.
Right.
We're going to be with our family members, and it's going to be for many, a real hostile environment.
Yeah.
And one of the ways to go through that is to say it's okay. Yeah.
I think it is. I think I certainly have it in my family too. Differences on these political opinions, and I like debate my brothers as much as it, but I think this time especially to say there are some real differences here, and there is still something deeper that unites us. Okay, and it certainly unites us as family, but it also unites us as country. And the people who voted for Donald Trump, I am sure that there were some racists among them, but I don't think they were all racist. And I think that they are looking for something good for everyone, not just for themselves. They're looking for good for their family. They're also looking for good for their country. And to be willing to give them that, to just say, okay, I give you that. And now, in a kind of neat way, it's up to them, right? I mean, now it's on their shoulders a little bit to see how this goes. And, a year from now, we might be in a different place how we talk about it. We might be able to say no.
Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you so much for the conversation. Again, Jay's book, Beneath the Veil of Strange Verses, Reading Scandalous Texts. Thank you for talking with us, Jay.
Thanks so much, Adam.